Okay. Not yet.
Almost.
We're supposed to be. I think we're on Kuf, but no, actually today we're going to start Kuf Vav Amud Beis on the bottom. We'll do Kuf Zayin and we'll start Kuf Tes. Okay, so we're going to start on 106b, the last three lines of the page. Thank Hashem. We're able to learn Torah every day. In this list of our learning, we should have the Beis Hamikdash immediately. We're also learning in the memory of Havagolda, Bas Baruch Binyamin, and everyone that needs Refuah Shlema should have Refuah Shlema. Amar Rab Chia bar Abba, Amar Rab Yochanan. See that? Last three lines? Chia bar Abba says the name of Rab Yochanan. Atayin Tanas Ganu B'Pikaden. We've been learning about a shomer, someone that's watching an item for someone else, let's say a shomer chinam, specifically the shomer chinam, that he could have, if it's stolen, he's exempt. So he claims that it's stolen, but it turns out that he had actually stolen it himself. So the rule is that he has to pay. He put a liking to it, so he has to pay. He has to pay kefil if he claims that. He has to, just as if like he stole it. So Reb Chia bar Abba was a great student of Reb Yochanan. He says that when does a Tayin Tanis Ganav have to pay kefil? That's only if he also it's only if he was a Maida b'miktas. I don't know, the person said, I gave you two items, and he says one of them was stolen and one of them I'll give you back. You have to deny something and admit to something. And the Gemara now, let me just explain that there's a real shvua min Torah is by a Maida b'miktas. Shvua Shemrim also has a Maida b'miktas. Shvua Shemrim is also in the Torah, but where a watchman has to make an oath. But there's another type of oath that is a Maida b'miktas. That's if someone, let's say, borrows money, and when it comes time to paying back, he says, "I only borrowed 50. I didn't borrow 100." There's a partial admission has to take this oath. So Reb Chia bar Abba says in the name of Rabbi Yochanan that the shvua that the shomer takes, that was going to make him into a ganav, because it has to be a combination of both types of shvuas. One, that he's a shomer and that it got stolen from him. And the other shvua, another type of shvua has to be included in that is the Maida b'miktas, that he's admitting, he's a partial admission. My time, but what's the reason why this is so? The Makra says, it quotes the pasuk, says, "Ki hu zeh." Of the Chumash here. Let me get the Chumash. The pasuk says that this is in the section of the Shomer Chinam. It says that he comes to the court, that he did not stretch out his hand in his Malachas Reyayu. Okay, yeah, it goes like this. If a person gives his friend money or articles for safekeeping, and he does not pay him for his services, that's dealing with the Shomer Chinam, that's added in the parentheses. And they are stolen from the man's house, then the thief is found, he must pay twofold. Okay, so the thief has to pay. If the thief is not found, imla yimatzi aganav, and okay, so the homeowner must approach the judges if he is challenged by the owner to swear an oath that he has not laid his hand upon his friend's property, and then he is exempt from compensation since he was not paid for his services. Is a shomer chinam mispat. In every case of dishonesty, okay, that means I'll call the pesha. When swearing an oath, whether it is about an ox, about a donkey, about a lamb, about a garment, or about any lost article, if a witness will say, now I added in the word witness, if that's one of the pshatim. If a witness will say that this thing here is the very thing which you swore about, saying that it was not in your possession, if he claims, if the witness claims that he's lying, then the claims of both parties shall come to the judges. Whoever the judges declares guilty must pay twofold to his friend. So if it turns out that he's lying, according to this interpretation, that the witness says that exactly what he's denying is in his possession, so then he has to pay double. He becomes a Tayan Tanaskanav with a shvua. He claimed that it was stolen with an oath, and it turned out that a witness says that he's lying. He has to pay double. That's one pshat here. There's another pshat here. Other pshat is that not the witness will say this thing here, but it's the person himself says this thing here. Now, what does he mean by this thing here? What does he mean? He means that partially this thing here is yours, and this thing here, and what you're claiming is not. So in other words, the ki huzeh could be, if it's from the defendant himself, if it's the words of the defendant, then it's a partial admission. That's the words ki huzeh is teaching me ma'ida b'miktas, depending how you want to read it. Okay, so now he says, because it says ki huzeh, Rab Chia bar Abba named Rabbi Yochanan says that when it says in this section of the Shem Mechinim ki huzeh, it means that the Shem Mechinim needs to be ma'ida b'miktas in order to be chayav double. Completely the Rab Chia bar Yosef, but this argues on Rab Chia bar Yosef. So you have. So you have, is that for me? What, is something in it, or are you just showing me that? Oh. So we have we'll see, we have machlekes here, Reb Chia bar Abba versus Reb Chia bar Yosef. But it turns out that they're both students of Reb Yochanan. But Reb Chia bar Yosef was a student first of Rab, and then of Shmuel, and then he comes to Reb Yochanan later. Reb Chia bar Abba was the major student of Reb Yochanan. He's in Eretz Yisrael, I think, the whole time. Okay, but this Reb Chia bar Abba argues on Reb Chia bar Yosef. Reb Chia bar Yosef says, we're up on the top of Kav Zayin, Erev Parshas Kasav Kan. Reb Chia bar Yosef says that this comment that the Torah makes, Asher Yoimar Ki Huzeh, which is in the section of Shem Mechinim, does not belong in the Shem Mechinim section. It really belongs in the section about if a person will lend money to his friend. The Erev Parshas Kasav Kan, it's mixed together, and it does not belong here. And the concept of ma'ida b'miktas, of partial admission, is not necessary for a shomer. It could be by a shomer, but it's not necessary for a shomer. Shomer will have to pay a kefel if he claims that it was stolen, even without a ma'ida b'miktas. That's the way Reb Chia bar Yosef lands. When does the Torah write ki huzeh, like that section which is referring to partial admission? A milva hu d'ksiv is talking about when someone borrows money. This is the big Tosfos over here. Erev Parshas, famous Tosfos. It takes up a whole page. Yeah. The discussion in Tosfos here is about how much it doesn't belong here. Oh. Is it how much the Erev Parshas? Is it like the way Rashi says? Okay, so it goes like this. Why does Reb Chia bar Yosef claim that it doesn't have to do with a pikadon, the object that was given for watching? Ma'ida b'miktas, partial admission, only has to do with a loan. So we say like this, Kidder Rabba, like Rabba taught. I think we had this before. We had the comment of Rabba before. Rabba says, how come the Torah says, going back to the logic of the Torah, why does the Torah say that someone that's a partial admission has to take an oath? Chazaka, the reason is, because really a person doesn't want to deny everything. The reason is because if the guy just did him a favor by lending him money, you can't just say you never lent me. That's too chutzpahdik. He doesn't have the guts to say that. So that's never a claim that he would say. What would he say? We'll see in a second. The truth is that he would like to deny everything. But the fact that he's not denying it, because he doesn't have the chutzpah to do that. The audacity. But therefore he should be really admitting to everything. He says, okay, I owe you. But the fact that he's denying partial, he says, I can't do this, I can't admit. Because if I admit to everything, Tavali Bakuli is going to demand all the money. And I don't have all the money. So I'll sneak away a little bit now. Until I get a little bit more money. So what I'll do now is I'll admit to partial. So the guy doesn't think I'm a real bad guy. A real low life. He shouldn't think I'm a real low life. So I'll admit to half, and I'll pay what I have. I'll admit to half. So the Torah doesn't want that to happen. So the Torah puts a shvu on him that he should be admitting to make it more difficult for him to soften his claim, make it difficult for him to soften his claim, so that he should have to admit 100%. Otherwise, he's going to have to take a biblical oath.
What is it that he admits in that case?
He admits that he actually owes everything. The guy's claiming $100. He wants to say that I don't owe you anything, but he can't do that. So instead he says, I don't owe you 50. I only borrowed 50.
That's the oath, I don't owe you 50?
The oath would be that I don't owe you 50, right? So that's we impose that oath in order so that he should admit to that 50 as well. Yeah, there's other oaths that get into this. I'm sorry?
What about all the other oaths that go along in this situation, like lo pashati and lo berishusi?
Well, that's going to come up on the next page. Together with if you follow Reb Yochanan, then together with those oaths, you also need to have the oath of Meida B'Miktas.
So we could end up taking 4 oaths then.
Yeah.
Right.
Would it be 4 oaths? Or would it
Lo pashati is one.
Yeah.
Lo berishusi, lo b'miktas, and there's another one in there.
Shlei shalachti bayad.
Yes.
Right. Yeah. Okay. So the Gemara concludes. So this is the main point. It's only by a borrower where this concept is applicable, because by a borrower the person doesn't want to deny because the guy did him a favor by lending him money. So he doesn't feel right by saying, I don't know what you're talking about. You never lent me anything. He doesn't feel right saying that. So for that, he's going to only do the partial admission, and the Torah tries to stop that. However, Abel Gabi Pikadon. But when it comes to a watchman that's watching an object for someone else, who did who the favor here? The unpaid watchman. The watchman's doing the favor, not the guy that lent it to him. It doesn't say, I'll do you a favor, I'll let you watch my that's not how it's working. The guy's doing him a favor by watching it. So over there, Meyas Umeyas. He would definitely deny everything. He doesn't care to deny everything. He did the guy the favor. He doesn't feel that same indebtedness to him. He just watched his item. Remember that story with the honey, the money and the honey? Remember that there was a book, The Money and the Honey, the kids' book, about this widow that she had money, but she didn't want anyone to steal it. She was going on a trip, so she asked a friend of her husband, of her deceased husband, to watch these jars of honey till she gets back. But she took all her gold coins and she put it in the honey. Anyway, this friend needed some honey at some event or something, so they took some honey from the jar. I'll pay it back later. But they found the money in it, so he emptied all the honey, and the lady came back. He gave her plain honey. without any other coins. So she says that you stole. So he says, I don't know what you're talking about. You gave me honey, I gave you back honey. So she goes to all the different Batei Dinim to help her. No one could help. And then David HaMelech, at least in the story, David HaMelech says, I can help you. So I think Shaul was the king then or something. So David takes the jars and he throws them on the floor. And inside one of the jars was one coin that was still stuck to the. I said, see, it must be that she was saying the truth because that one coin proves for everything. Anyway, I'm just saying that.
The movie rights to that. Negotiate.
He had no problem claiming that I don't know what you're talking about. This, I did you a favor, and after I do you a favor, this is what you come to me and you call me a thief, the chutzpah of you, Okay. Tani Rami Bar Chama. Rami Bar Chama taught. Arba Shaimrim, Rami Bar Chama is a sort of a brother-in-law of Rava, but not exactly. Brother-in-law, but not exactly a brother-in-law. He married the woman that Rava later married. That's not a brother-in-law. It's the first husband.
Messy.
He passed away. He was they're both sons-in-law of Rav Chizra. Rami Bar Chama, Abba Shemim Tshichem Kfira b'miktas Veda b'miktas. Rami Bar Chama follows the statement of Reb Chia bar Abba in the name of Rabbi Yochanan, that the four Shemrim, it's for them to be chayav kefel, for them to be chayav double payment because they claim that it got stolen. That would only be if it was the truth is it's only going to be kefil is only going to come out by the shemer chinam, but to be chayav a shvua, it's only going to be together with maida b'miktas, with a partial admission. It comes out according to Rami Bar Chama, those shvuos I think don't apply unless he was also. What about those other shvuos?
Partial admission.
Yeah, partial admission means partial deny. Okay, Ve'elohein. And they are, what are the four? Shemrim, Shemer Chinam is the unpaid watchman. V'ashayel is the borrower. Neisi Sachar is the paid watchman. V'aseicher and the renter. Okay, we're going to see in a moment that the renter is machlekes. It's not really a fourth. It's really only three. The question is which one the renter goes under. Amar Rava. My time with the Rami Bar Chama, Rava says, what's the reason of Rami Bar Chama? It's interesting that he's elaborating on Rami Bar Chama's words. He says, Shemer Chinam behed yiksiv be ki huzeh. By the Shemer Chinam, it actually says in the verse, it says ki huzeh. This is the thing, which we said before that's referring to a partial admission. If it's the defendant that's claiming that, not the other way that it was read, that it's the witness that's claiming that. It says ki huzeh. Shemer Sacher Yalef Nesina Nesina Mishemer Chinam. The Shemer Sacher we learn it says ki yitain by both of them. A man will give to his friend this an akser, to watch. It says by both of them ki yitain. So the Gemara learns yitain Nesina Nesina. It's coming to tell me that the halachas of both of them are the same. In Shayel, by the borrower, which is the verse immediately after the Shemer Sacher, after the paid watchman, it says v'chi yishal. And if a man will borrow, why does it say and if a man? Vav Meisav Alinian Rishon, it's the Vav, what's it called? Consecutive Vav, or something that tells me and not this plus this, so it's coming to add to what we said before, which means it's a continuation. So the same law that applied to the Shemer Chinam, which we extended to the Shemer Sacher, is also going to apply to the Shayel. Seicher, what about the renter? He's going to have the same halacha that he has to deny partial in order to be chayav an oath. According to the one opinion that says he's a shemer sacher, okay, he's a shemer sacher. We already know about a shemer sacher. It's machlekes Reb Meir and Rabbi Yehuda. According to the opinion that says that a renter has the laws of a shemer chinam, okay, so he's a shemer chinam, and we know that it says by a shemer chinam that a partial admission would require the oath. Okay. That was all discussing that in order for him to be chayiv kefel, the shemer chinam to be chayiv kefel when he claims that it got stolen, according to these two opinions of Reb Chia bar Abba in the name of Rabbi Yochanan and Rami bar Kamma, it would only be if there was a partial admission as well. Amar Reb Chia bar Yosef. Chia bar Yosef was the one that argued before on Rabbi Yochanan. He said that no. He says that the concept of Moed b'miktas is only applicable, is only relevant to the borrower. That was Reb Chia bar Yosef. He said, now he comes along. Reb Chia bar Yosef says, "Atayin tanas ganav b'pikadan." If someone claims that it got stolen, and it turned out we find out that he was really a liar, and he was the one that stole it, he's only chayev if he actually used it before he made use of this item that he was supposed to be watching. He already started using it at the time that he took the oath. My timer. Why should that be necessary? He took an oath. He becomes a thief when he takes the oath. It says no. You have to look at the pasuk. It says v'nikrav balabayas el elo alikim l'shalach yadei b'melachas reyayu. The owner of the house, that's referring to the watchman, has to come to the court, which means he has to. We learned in the Gemara that elo alikim means to take an oath. Has to come to the court, not just to the court, but he also has to take an oath. That we learned before in Meruba. That he did not stretch out his hand in his friend's item, which means he did not make use of it. And that's the concept that we call shlichus yad. Shlichus yad means making use of the item that you were supposed to be watching and not using.
Before or after he took it?
So he's taking the oath that he did not make use of it. Now, but turns out that he really did. Michlal, this implies the shalach bayad, that if he would have made use of it, that's when he's going to be chayev, mechayev.
Yeah.
That means he's only going to be chayev kefel if he had already made use of it at the time that he took the oath. L'meimra, this is to say, b'shalach bayad askinan. We're talking about that he already made use of it. So it's a combination of taking a false oath plus he already made use of the item.
So if he made use of it before he made an oath, he would have to pay kefil?
Yeah. What's the oath that he's taking? That it was stolen. And then it turns out that he was the one that had it the whole time.
Wasn't like viable because he had like put the money in the swamp. Like it was away from him since he didn't make use of it, and then the time giving it back. Like it was kind of like the
If he did not make use of it,
like he just stored the money in the swamp.
if he did not make use of it, then right, then he would not have to pay double, according to Reb Chia bar Yosef. Right, right, but that's only Reb Chia bar Yosef. Comes along, Amalu Reb Chia bar Abba. Reb Chia bar Abba argues on Reb Chia bar Yosef. This is the second time they're arguing here. Amar Rabbi Yochanan, in the name of Rabbi Yochanan, by Medes alavusa shanu. No, we're talking about even if he didn't make use of it, even if it's standing in the meadow, the marsh. Right? How do they translate avusa? By the trough or something? By the trough. Even if it's standing by the feeding trough, which means he did not make use of it. That's an expression. He did not make use of it. He's still going to be chayev kefel because he took the false oath. It has nothing to do with if he used it already. Amar le Reb Zera le Reb Chia bar Abba. Reb Zera says to Reb Chia bar Abba. He has a question over here. You're quoting Rabbi Yochanan that says that even if you don't make use of it, you're still going to be chayev kefel just because you took the oath. 1 second. Dafka by Medes alavusa kamar aval shalach bayad kana? Do you mean that it's only if you didn't make use of it? That's when you're going to be chayev? However, even now when you took the oath, doesn't matter, because maybe what happens is once he makes use of it, maybe he becomes a gazlan, becomes a robber. And now when he takes the oath, that doesn't change anything. He already acquired it. You see, here's the rule.
Whoa.
When does a shomer chinim have to pay double? Only if he claims that it was stolen and it turns out that he kept it. But over here, if he was already a robber before his claim that it was stolen, why? Because he made use of it. So then when he claims that it was stolen, that's already unnecessary. He was already obligated because he used it. There's the claim that it was stolen, and together with the oath is what makes the kefil. It could be that the fact that he used it already would absolve him of the kefil because he was a robber even before this happened.
You can't.
Thievery is that.
But how can he steal something and then ask to borrow it? It's like, oh, okay, let me go get it. Wait,
Yeah.
where is it?
No, 1 second. This item was given to him as a deposit,
Oh, okay. Sorry.
so it's in his possession. But he's supposed to not be using it. He's just supposed to be watching it. Then he decides, I really like that item. It's sitting there. I'm going to take it for myself, and he uses it. Then the owner comes and says, I want it back. He says it got stolen. Okay, so now the owner says swear. So he swears that it was stolen. Then we find out with witnesses that he really has it. Okay, so the fact that he claimed that it was stolen, that should really make him have to pay kefil now, double. The only thing is that he had made use of it before that claim. So what happens when he made use of it, he automatically needs to replace it entirely. He's not a regular shomer that he's pater for gneva v'aveda. He's exempt if it gets stolen. He's pater if an accident happens. We don't care what happens. You have to pay back the whole thing right now, because if someone steals an item, someone steals a car and an accident happens, you can't just say that I'm sorry, it was an accident. It's the person becomes responsible to replace everything. Okay, so here when he took it, responsible to replace everything. It doesn't matter what happens later, and that obligation is just as strong as when he later on claims that it got stolen. So he's not adding anything when it claims that it got stolen. He's a shem chinam, yeah.
By using the item, is it like he takes possession of it?
Yeah, exactly. And so remember, we had if he took possession of it before he slaughtered it, then we said that he doesn't have to pay 4 or 5 times because it was already his that he slaughtered. It was right. We had such a concept. So here also, it's already his that he's now swearing about. So he doesn't have to pay double. Oy Dilma. Well, he would owe now it's owed as a debt, but the item that he's swearing about is already not the original owner. It's already his. Oh, he has the debt to pay. Right. The reason why we call it, the reason why we say that is because the obligation to replace it is 100%, no matter what happens. So that's already considered like a debt. Or maybe that's not what Rabbi Yochanan meant. Maybe what Rabbi Yochanan meant is it doesn't matter if he made use of it or he didn't make use of it. It doesn't matter. In other words, Rav Chia Bar Yosef said only if he made use of it, quoting the pasuk, is he going to be chayiv kefil. Rabbi Yochanan says it doesn't matter this way or that way. If he made use of it or he didn't, he's still going to be chayiv kefil. Right? We have a question over here. Is it specifically if he didn't make use of it, he's chayiv kefil, arguing 100% on Rabbi Chia Bar Yosef? They're polar opposites. Or do we say that he's agreeing to Rabbi Chia Bar Yosef? He's just adding that even if he didn't make use of it, he's still chayiv. Amalei Zulay Shemati. So Rabbi Chia Bar Abba says, I actually didn't hear this. So Rabbi Zera has a good question. He says, I don't know the answer. But Keitz Bashmati, I heard something similar to this, that from that you'll be able to derive what the answer is. Dam Rabasi Am Rabbi Yochanan. Rabasi said in the name of Rabbi Yochanan, Atayin Tanas Avad Benishba. Let's say he didn't say that it was stolen. He claimed that it got lost. And then he took an oath. Because of Atayin Tanas Ganav, and then he goes back and he claims that it got stolen. So I guess he admitted what I told you, that it got lost. Wasn't true. It wasn't lost. What really happened was it got stolen. Benishba, now he swears on that. Abo Edim, and witnesses come, Spater. He's exempt. Why is he exempt? Because he's exempt from kefil, that is. Because the only time he's chayiv kefil is if he's tayin tanas ganav, if he claims that it was stolen. But he already claimed with an oath that it got lost. What happens then when he does that? He then acquires the item, right? And he has the obligation to pay it back. Now, when he steals it again and he claims that he had already acquired it before. Okay, so what happens now is my timer. Why is he exempt? So So it's because you acquired it with the first oath. So what Rab Chia bar Abba is telling Rab Zera is the same thing would apply to Shlichus Yad. If a person used it, made personal use, he already acquired it with his personal use, then he would be exempt from the kefel afterwards. So what Rabbi Yochanan meant is your only chayiv kefel is if it's standing by the feeding trough, and not if you made use of it.
It's not really.
What's the difference between saying it was lost or it was stolen?
Thank you, Daniel. That's my question.
The difference is if he gets the status of a regular thief that has to pay double. Normally, if someone borrows an item, so if he doesn't return it, so he has to pay for it, and that's it. Claims it got lost, okay, so he has to pay for it, even if it's really in his possession. But if the only exception to that is if he claims that it got stolen, and he was the one that stole it, then he gets the status of the thief. It's based on the pasuk, but so we're talking about the double payment is only applicable if he claims that it got stolen. So here, when he claimed that it got lost before he claimed that it got stolen, so he already acquired it then, and the claim that it got stolen doesn't really add anything, so he just only has to pay once. Now, what would happen if he used it before he claimed that it got stolen? So then the same thing would apply. The fact that he now claims that it got stolen doesn't really change anything. He already used it. Used it means that he was already he already acquires it for all obligations, so he has to replace it, but not double, only once.
And in that case, then he admits to it, he would have to bring an additional 1/5 and he could.
Yeah. Anytime he denies money, any denial of money is 1/5 and a
And this is when he used it, or it's considered an acquisition, even though it's not his.
Yeah, but the reason why we call it an acquisition is because even, normally, if someone is watching something, so he only has to pay for it if he was negligent.
Right.
But now, if you use it, and then even if it wasn't negligence, even if an accident happens, still has to replace it. You can't claim anymore that it was an accident. It's only if he never made use of it. So that is like an acquisition of it. The fact that he used it once and now he has to replace it no matter what makes it like it's his.
That would line up as a borrower.
As if it's a debt. The borrower concept is a little different because then we're going to throw it back to mitzvahs, all of that. But it's as if it's a debt. Yeah. He owes the money now instead of the item.
Just stepping back, is it like a mitzvah
Stepping back.
or an avera to refuse to have someone borrow something out? Or it's like,
It says you're supposed to lend.
So if you lend an old machine that someone's breaking point, give it to this guy, thinks it's new and he uses it, he's got to replace it.
No, because the only thing that he's exempt from is if it dies during normal use.
No.
Right, he uses a lawnmower.
Yeah.
Normal use.
Yeah.
And it dies because
So he doesn't have to pay for it
at all.
That's the exemption, even for a borrower. It's called Mesa Machmas Malacha.
Donkey
If it dies
on the
during
way.
normal use, yeah, that's the one exception. Okay.
If it's a new donkey, and it dies.
Same thing. He's exempt from paying it.
That's like Sharon says, preventable circumstances.
Yeah, but there's a difference because unpreventable circumstance is actually higher if he's a borrower. It's only if that unpreventable circumstance was that it died while it's during normal use. Yeah, that's it, when he's exempt.
Yeah.
Okay. This was the claim of. This is what Rab Chia bar Abba is telling Rab Zera what he thinks that Rabbi Yochanan would hold if there was shlichus yad, if it was used. He thinks that Rabbi Yochanan would hold that he'd be exempt from kefal. Amar lei, Rab Zera says to him, it's not a good proof. The truth is that you're mixing things up. it's not because you can't compare this to Shlichus Yad. Over here, something else is going on. Let me just see before. I think we had this from.
Kind of feels like these people are just like a bunch of stores that take things and keep it, just pay it back. Well, that's a mistake. I'll just pay anything.
So the communism.
Yeah.
But hey,
It says
pay back.
that we had a Gemara before where Rav Sheshes said that someone that denies a deposit, something that he was supposed to be watching, he becomes a thief and he's chayav b'eintzin.
Oh,
Okay, so now what we're saying now is that the fact that he denied it once means that the oath that he takes the second time is not a real oath, because his first oath already was the main denial. His first oath that it got lost. Remember what happened over here? First he claimed that it got lost, and then he claimed that it was. So that first oath is the real oath. The second oath is not the real. What makes him obligated to pay double is an oath that he takes that it was stolen. That oath makes him pay double. But over here, that oath was an unnecessary oath because he was already exempt from any payment because he made the first oath. So it's really the second oath, which was nothing. But let's say he was sheleach yad. He just used it, but he never made a first oath. Now, so we made a comparison. If he used it and then he takes an oath that it got stolen, that's very comparable to if he took an oath that it was lost and then he took an oath that it was stolen. Like the oath that it was lost, or if he used it, are two ways of acquiring the item, so that the second oath of that it got stolen should not make him chayav.
If he said
Now
it got
he's
stolen, then for sure he used it.
he claims that it got stolen, and it really was just still in his house. Doesn't mean that he used it. It just means that I'm not giving it back when they catch it in his house. Right? Doesn't mean that he used it. Okay. So, but comes along Reb Zera and says it's not a real comparison because over there were two oaths, which makes the second oath insignificant, which means that's why he doesn't have to pay. But over here, there was only one oath. He was sheleach yad first, and then there was an oath. Maybe Rabbi Yochanan would agree that there's going to be a double payment, whether he was sheleach yad or whether he wasn't sheleach yad, whether he used it or not. So far we have two opinions. We have the opinion of Rabbi Bar Yosef that there's only a double payment if he used it first. We have the opinion of Rabbi Yochanan that there's a double payment whether he used it, whether he didn't use it. That's where we're holding right now. Amar Rav Sheshes says, "Atayin tanas ganav b'pikadan, even sheshalach bayad pater." This was a thought that we had before, but we didn't spell it out like this. Rav Sheshes says that if someone claims that the item was stolen, if he had used it already, then he's exempt from the double payment. My taima, what's the reason? Hachi kamar rachmana. The Eibishter says like this in the Torah. It says v'nikra balabayis elikim emlei shalach yadei. He approaches the court to swear if he did not stretch out his hand to use it. But let's say he did stretch out his hand to use it, then he would not approach the court to swear to pay the double payment. That's how he reads it.
No, the English translation
Different than
the owner of the house shall approach the judges if he has not misappropriated.
Yeah, which means if he has used it.
Shalach
Shalach yad is misappropriate.
Oh,
That's an expression that means he has made use, stretched out his hand to make use of it. So now we have three opinions. The two polar opinions is Reb Bar Yosef, only if he used it does he have to pay double payment. The other opinion is Reb Sheshes that says only if he didn't use it would he have to make the double payment. And then Rabbi Yochanan says that it doesn't matter. Okay. Amar le Rav Nachman. Rav Nachman says to Rav Sheshes, 1 second. You're claiming that if he made use of it, then he doesn't have to, he doesn't pay the double payment afterwards when he claims that it was stolen and he's really lying. But we make him swear 3 oaths. This is Naphtali, you mentioned this before. Oath number 1, oath that it wasn't, we're talking about the watchman, has to take 3 oaths in order to exempt himself from a payment. he is not returning the item. Number one is that I wasn't negligent. Number two, I didn't make personal use of it. And three, that it's not hanging around in my possession right now. Because you see, he could have taken the first two oaths and he still has it in his possession.
It's closing loopholes.
If he's a watchman, he can't make use of it.
Right. If he's a unpaid watchman, only if he's a borrower or a renter. My love, is it not? Rav Nachman's claiming to Rav Sheshes. That will do a comparison here. A shvua that the oath that I didn't use it is similar to the oath that it's not in my possession. Just like the oath that it's not in my possession. When we find out through witnesses that he lied, and it still is in his possession. If he claims that the claim was that it was stolen, then he's going to be chayev double. Also the oath that he says that I did not make use of it, even if we find out that he made use of it, we should have to pay the double payment. So Rav Nachman is saying that if you compare the oaths one to another, it should really come out, not like Rav Sheshes is saying, it should come out that even if he made use of it, he should be chayev. Just like the oath that is not in my possession makes him have to pay double when we find out that it is in his possession. So to the oath that he says I never made use of it, when we find out that he did make use of it, you still have to pay double. That's the comparison. Amalei, Rav Sheshes responds to Rav Nachman loy. That's not you're making a comparison. 2 out of the 3 oaths. What about the other one? The oath that I did not make use of it could be compared to the oath that I wasn't negligent. If we find out that he really was negligent and it got stolen, he doesn't have to pay the double payment, right? He only has to pay once. He was negligent, he paid for the item. So to the oath that says that I wasn't that I didn't make use of it, so too, if we find out that if he did make use of it, we exempt him from the double payment. So the comparison, we have 3 items here. Rav Nachman compared I didn't make use of it to it's not in my possession, and Rav Sheshes says I didn't make use of it was comparable to I wasn't negligent. And by both of those, well, we have to pay 1/5. If he denies, anytime he denies money, yeah, that we'll see in a moment. Yeah.
But it was the 1/5 if it was a false oath.
A false oath, right.
If
Right.
if
he was actually negligent, then he just has to pay for the item without the 5th.
The
Right?
item is still like operational, like it's still he's working.
Probably. We don't know. Probably.
I was wondering, in that case, the owner of the item would receive 1 payment from the watchman that was negligent, and then once they catch the thief, not the thief, the robber, he'll receive 2 times the value from the robber.
If there was a real robber, yeah. You would have to pay. We'll have to see, and the next Gemara is going to discuss that. Rami Bar Kamma has a question. If you remember, we said before, we said yesterday, that if someone pays a double payment, even though he took a false oath, he doesn't have to pay the extra 5th. And the way we explained it was, double is more than a 5th. So he already paid the 5th, it's included in the double. Now, the Gemara here, Rami Bar Kamma has a question, is not 100% sure about that. Is it is it the kefel, the payment, the actual payment of kefel that absolves him from paying the extra 5th? Or is it the oath that made him pay kefel that absolves him from the extra 5th? What is it the actual payment, or is it the type of oath that obligates the payment? Well, where it says, hey Chidami, when would you ever have a significant difference where you would have the oath but not the payment? In other words, is it possible that he would be exempt from a 5th, even though he doesn't have the double payment? Says, hey, Chidami, what would the case be? You go into Tanas. He claimed that it got stolen. Benishba, and he swore to it. And then he admitted, I guess, that that wasn't true. The Tanas Avad, and now he claims that it was lost. Okay, double payment is going to be on his first oath. Second oath is going to be a fifth payment, an extra fifth. It says Ubo Edim Akamaisa. Now, witnesses come to testify. We're on top of Kofches, that he lied of his first oath. When he said that it was stolen, he had actually kept it in his property. And when he claimed that it was lost, it really wasn't lost. He had really kept it.
Super
My.
Don't judge.
The money that he's paying kefil, should that exempt him from the fifth? And over here, he has to pay double. Very good. So you shouldn't have to pay a fifth on the second oath. Or maybe it's the oath that obligates the kefil, that exempts him. So 1 second, over here he took 2 oaths. But the second oath, but the second oath should obligate him. If I look at the money, so he already paid double on this, so that would absolve him from the fifth. But if I look at the oath, so he had 2 oaths. Second oath didn't have a kefil included in it. It's only, when does he not have to pay the kefil? That's if, when does he not have to pay the fifth? That's if he took an oath that obligated him to pay kefil, and so he's absolved from the fifth, because either the kefil or it's the type of oath that absolves him. But over here he has a second oath. Amarava Tashma. Rava says, come and listen. If someone says to another person in the market, where's the ox that you stole? Is not a shomer here. This is just a regular thief. He says, where's the ox that you stole? He says, I didn't steal it. He says, swear to me. He says, okay, swears. And the witnesses testify. He has to pay double. Now, he doesn't pay double here because he took an oath. He pays double because he's a thief. It's not the oath. The oath was only for the watchman. Okay. But if he admitted that he took it, then he would have to pay for his false oath. He has to pay an extra fifth. But over here, the witnesses obligate him to pay the double. But if he admitted on his own, then yes, that means that he would not have to pay the kefil. But if he admits after the witnesses already testified, then lie, then he would still have to pay the kefil. But if the oath that obligates him to pay kefil it's just the oath that exempts him from the fifth, then why, if he admits after the witnesses, does he not have to pay for the fifth? Why would he? 1 second. Michti, let's see. Hashvua like a machayvale. Kvela to hashvua like a machayvale kvela. It's not the oath that caused him to pay the kefil. It's the stealing that caused him to pay the kefil. So he should really have to pay the fifth. Alalav, it must be based on this case. Shema mina, we learned from this. Mamain hamachay bekefil. By trusting menachem shema mina, it's a money that includes the money of the kefil that includes the fifth. That's what exempts him. It's not the oath of the kefil, because here we have a case where he takes an oath, but it's not this oath doesn't actually obligate him in the kefil. He took that oath, and he still has to pay the fifth. So it's not the oath. It's not the oath that exempts him. It's the actual payment of the kefil that exempts him. Okay, let's leave it there.
In these cases where there's 2 oaths, would he have to take 2 kefil?
Thank you. Have a good day. Have a good day.
Have a very good day.
Hey, all of you too. Okay, let me see your fish.
Thank you.
Have a good day.